Who's got your camera, though? Who let the dogs out? Who?
All right, everybody, welcome to Polishing Turds. My name is Nick.
And I'm Cal.
And this is the show where we take a deep dive into some of the worst music of recent memory. How you feeling, Cal? Are you excited for this?
I'm amped up.
This is episode 1. You are on the ground floor of our podcast. If you're listening to this, it's probably just because you're my friend and I kind of badgered you into it. But thank you for that. Thank you for at least downloading this and pretending to give a shit.
Yep. I have to confess, I'm not actually that amped up, but you're supposed to say that stuff at the start of the first episode.
We're actually super depressed. We're kind of curmudgeonly assholes who hate everything. But we try to sound like we're having fun.
Well, it's funny because any media you listen to, people are all jazzed up and almost hyperactive if you're on YouTube. And, we're...
Yo!
Yeah. Smash that like, smash that subscribe.
Turn on post notifications.
And we're just, we're getting old. I want to vibe like we're sitting here smoking cigarettes with berets on, talking real nice, chill.
Yeah, like, you think Junkanoo's the best album? I don't know about that. All right, so seriously, what's this show all about? Who are we, and why did we put the word turds in the title of our show? I thought we might just take a moment to introduce ourselves. So, my name is Nick Vitale. I'm a barista, screenwriter, and occasional blogger. And I can't actually play any musical instruments, but music is a big part of my life, and I love talking about it.
I'm Cal. I'm absolutely obsessed with music. I figured it was about time we subjected people to us talking about it, and I was raised by a pack of wolves in the North Woods, and I slowly learned to speak English over a painstaking process, and now I'm here.
They were pretty competent wolves, I gotta say, because between the two of us, Cal has a big boy job. He's an engineer, so good
for now.
For now,
depending who listens to this and what we say.
Yeah, so just don't tell anybody about what we say. So basically, this is a show about bad music, and obviously the term "bad" is subjective, but I think it's safe to say that most of the time we'll be talking about artists and songs that make you feel a bit cringy. Sometimes it's going to be stuff that we can all remember, but sometimes it'll be stuff that you've never heard of, but we think you should have heard of because it's pretty damn funny. But we want to do more than just make fun of shitty songs. We want to really explore the context behind them. Each episode will be taking a deep dive into some of the most infamous artists of recent memory. We'll cover aspects of their career that most people ignore, get a sense of their internal philosophy, and try to understand just what motivated them to make those earworms in the first place.
If you're anything like us, when you hear a garbage song in a trailer for some garbage movie, if there's a small part of you that wonders why that movie exists and who wrote that song in their fucking trailer, and then you go see that movie and feel compelled to write a long essay about it, then this is probably the show for you.
Hell yeah. No cultural artifact exists in a vacuum. Like every piece of art, like whether it's the Mona Lisa or Ice Ice Baby, it tells us something about the society that produced it. Artists operate in a unique cultural, political, and economic environment. The more you understand the environment, the more you understand the art, and we just want to shed as much light on these things as possible. In short, we believe that behind every bad song, there's a good story. Today we'll be talking about the Baha Men, the Caribbean band behind the infamous 2000 hit, Who Let the Dogs Out?
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Well, the party was nice, the party was pumping. Hey, yeah. And everybody having a ball. Until the fellas start the name calling. And the girls respond to the call. I hear a poor one shout out, who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs scruffy, get back you flea infested mongrel. Gonna tell myself I man no get angry.
Cal, what do you remember about this song?
You know, I was going to go into this just dumping all over it. And I thought back to my childhood and I realized I liked this fucking song.
Oh, yeah.
It's like all those 90s fads were. It was like Pokemon cards or Tamagotchis. It showed up. It was a huge part of everyone's life for a little while. And then it disappeared as fast as it came.
I know. And it's not like Smash Mouth's All-Star where like you can still hear it in bars and people still laugh about it.
You were still making memes.
Like people like seemed like they actively wanted to forget Who Let the Dogs Out. Like it was like an atrocity that like
it's like when you black out at a party.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't me.
Yeah, but like you said, it was huge. It was absolutely everywhere. Let's face it, if you were alive and conscious during the year 2000, you undoubtedly remember Who Let the Dogs Out. The catchy dance pop hit was in every commercial, every morning show, every shopping mall, and especially every sporting event. It was more than a song. Who Let the Dogs Out was a phenomenon. It transcended lines of age, class, color, and creed. But within a few months, the song faded just as quickly as it had arisen, and the band never came close to matching its success. Indeed, for most people, the Baha Men's career begins and ends with that goofy novelty song that was popular around the same time you were getting AOL CD-ROMs in the mail. But who are the Baha Men really? Are they just three muscular Caribbean guys dancing on a beach? Or is there more to the story? What if I told you that Baha Men are a multi-generational band, that their existence dates back to the late 70s and they're still making music today? What if I told you the authorship of Who Let the Dogs Out is a subject of intense dispute and has spawned multiple lawsuits? What if I told you the song itself is rooted in female sexual politics?
Well, I'd say you're full of beans. This whole thing makes Morpheus's pitch about the Matrix seem plausible.
If I told you. We're going to explore all of this and more as we take a long walk down the hot, crowded beach that is the Baha Men's career. Are you ready, Cal?
Born ready.
Let's polish this turd.
It'd be funny to go back and say that together, Captain Planet style.
So, the Baha Men are from the Bahamas, hence the name, and their music is essentially a synthesis of modern funk, dance, and hip-hop with traditional Caribbean forms of music, particularly the style known as junkanoo. Before we really get into the history of junkanoo, let's throw out a little disclaimer. Cal and I are two white guys from Wisconsin. Our knowledge of Caribbean culture and traditions is next to nothing, and pretty much everything you're about to hear is the result of a few weeks of intense but ultimately inadequate research.
When I go to the beach and I lay down in the sand, I camouflage. We're white.
We're like fucking paper white. It's sad. If you want to learn more about the rich musical history of this region, I highly encourage you to do so, but we're not experts in this field. You shouldn't be turning to us, and we're probably going to fuck some things up along the way.
We'll do our best.
That said, let's talk about junkanoo. Junkanoo music is the national sound of the Bahamas, and it's associated with the Junkanoo celebration that takes place every year on December 26th and January 1st, so Boxing Day and New Year's Day, respectively. And basically, it's a gigantic street parade with music, dance, and incredibly elaborate floats and costumes. Like, seriously, you should just go on Google and check out the costumes and the floats that these people have. They spend all year on them. They're just multicolored, incredibly intricate, and all made out of like very basic materials, but it looks just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I didn't actually believe you when you were pitching me this, so I did Google it. It is stunning. It's amazing. Check it out. It's not a bunch of dudes in dressing up as giant dongs on State Street. It's really cool.
It's an amazing tradition. It's like Mardi Gras on steroids, although even that doesn't do it justice. The origins of the festival date back to slavery times when enslaved Africans would celebrate the few days off they were granted around Christmas. Over time, this evolved into an elaborate, organized parade with costumes, music, and official prizes. The music of junkanoo is a polyrhythmic percussive style that involves goatskin drums, cowbells, whistles, and sometimes horns. Here's just a brief sample of what we're talking about. Like, this is just some shit I pulled off of YouTube.
I definitely picture when I hear this, people going down the street doing a dance I would look completely fucking stupid doing.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible dancer even by white dude standards.
But wouldn't you love to be there? Like, wouldn't you love to, like, sit in the rafters and watch these people in their costumes dancing down the street to that music?
Hell yeah.
Especially if you're, like, fucking drunk off your ass.
Yeah, oh yeah. Get a couple rums in you and just sit up and watch.
No, Junkanoo in Nassau is... I didn't even know it existed until we started researching the Baha Men, but now it's on my bucket list. Junkanoo isn't the only type of music that's native to the Caribbean. The region is also home to diverse original styles such as soca, calypso, rake and scrape, and reggae. Way too much to talk about on this show, but suffice to say that the dense percussive rhythms that you hear in the Junkanoo parade, they would have influenced a lot of Bahamian musicians, and a lot of these musicians would mix their native sound with the funk, soul, jazz, and pop music coming from the US. One of these musicians was the influential native Bahamian singer, Ronnie Butler.
As I was walking down the street one day, I met a pretty lady, she was going my way. I said, lady, would you walk along with me? I'll show you sights of interest, this is my country. Like the water tower and the Queen's staircase. And maybe later we could go to my place. She was looking pretty and smiling with me, and I think my line is beguiling. She was looking pretty and smiling with me, and I think my line is beguiling. Oh no.
You know, Nick, I bet that guy got laid a lot.
Oh, hell yeah. No matter what he looked like, you could sing like that. That guy,
Mr. Steal Your Wife. I liked the lyric where he's in, I'm going to show you the sights of my country. And then he says, like the water tower, not the pristine beaches, not the amazing reefs. Let's walk up to that tower.
I'm sure there must be a context to that. I'm sure it's like a historic water tower.
Yeah, it must be majestic.
It's just, I'm going to show you the water tower is like Plainfield, Wisconsin, like tourism.
We don't got much.
There's a water tower up by the river. So Ronnie Butler actually passed away in 2017, rest in peace, but he was known as the godfather of Bahamian music. If you were a tourist visiting Nassau in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, you could easily have caught him in a prestigious hotel or nightclub. But if you were an aspiring native musician from that era, you definitely looked up to him. And that brings us to the aspiring musician who founded the group that would eventually become Baha Men, Isaiah Taylor. Isaiah Taylor didn't develop an interest in music until he was 21, and still to this day doesn't read sheet music.
You really don't have to, at least for modern pop and rock.
No, I mean, Hendrix didn't.
If you know the basic chord patterns and a few scale shapes, you can get by. And I'm not talking completely out my ass. I do play guitar.
Yeah. Nonetheless, Isaiah's been the bassist and the leader of the band for over 40 years and held them steady through years of turmoil, success, and lineup changes. I just gotta say, on a subjective note, I've seen a lot of interviews and video of Isaiah Taylor. He just seems like a pretty chill, down-to-earth, humble dude. He really does not give off the air of a rock star at all.
Yeah, he strikes me as the brains of the operation.
100%.
He's not one of the guys in the fisheye lens in the video.
No. Like, that brings up a good point. Like, those three guys that you see in that video, they don't even come into the picture until the year 2000. The band started in 1977. But those guys didn't come on board until much, much later. Baha Men is a 7-piece band. The original vocalist was a guy named Nehemiah Heald. There's a couple other steady members, including the aforementioned Isaiah Taylor. In 1977, Isaiah Taylor formed a band called High Voltage.
High Voltage!
I know. It sounds like a fucking AC/DC cover band.
That was my best impression.
that was good. Honestly, it's not the most creative of names.
No, in doing research for this, I found out that AC/DC released their album called High Voltage 1 year before this in 76.
Yeah, so I'll give Taylor a pass and assume that he didn't know about AC/DC.
Just it's an unfortunate coincidence.
Yeah, but High Voltage played as High Voltage throughout the late 70s and 80s. They were playing mostly in hotels and nightclubs, but in the context of the Bahamas, those are really good gigs if you can get them. They did self-release a few albums, but we haven't been able to find any of those records. They're all totally independent, totally underground. We just don't know what they sound like.
Yeah, if by some weird internet miracle you do know, or you have a record or something, I don't know, send it our way. I'd like to hear it. We'll pay the shipping.
Yes. The internet claims that the band played mainly disco and funk during this era, which makes sense considering they would have been playing to the taste of tourists in the Bahamas. But I imagine that Taylor and company tried to incorporate at least some elements of their native sound as well. By the early 90s, Taylor decided that he wanted to take his band to the next level. He sent demos to various record labels, and eventually one of those demos was discovered by an Atlantic Records A&R man named Steve Greenberg. Steve Greenberg is going to be another major character in our story. He's a record producer and executive, and he's known for discovering artists. He's discovered like a lot of really famous people that you've heard of, such as Hanson, the Jonas Brothers, Joss Stone, and a ton more.
So you're telling me that one guy inflicted all of this upon us?
Yeah,
There's one dude responsible for Hanson and fucking Jonas Brothers.
This guy God gave him an ear for corny pop music that's going to sell. And I mean, that's not all he's done. He's produced like some legit artists as well, but like seriously, this guy has made a lot of money for a lot of people.
Yeah, my inner metalhead wants to hunt him for sport, but I can appreciate that too. If I was able to do it, I'd be a millionaire, and clearly didn't go that way.
One thing you have to respect about Greenberg is that he was the first major music industry figure to believe in Isaiah Taylor's band, and for a long time he was the only one. In 1991, Steve Greenberg signed High Voltage to Atlantic Records. In the process, he convinced them to change their name to Baha Men, which, I gotta say, good move, Steve.
Good fucking choice.
He saw what we saw. He saw, he didn't want people to think that his next big act was an AC/DC cover band that plays bar mitzvahs in Appleton, Wisconsin.
And admittedly, that is what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's not, they couldn't even get Back in Black as the title of their band. Or Highway to Hell was already taken. We gotta go down the list to High Voltage.
And here's our reggae version, Highway to Heck.
In 1992, Baha Men released their debut album titled simply Junkanoo. As the name implies, the band sought to honor and represent their Bahamian roots. Let's listen to the opening track, Back to the Island.
Gotta do it. Go back to the island, boy. Let's go. Wake up early one morning, kiss my mama goodbye. Going back to the island, I say, don't worry, mama, don't cry.
I'll be leaving on the island stable. I sure hope that she's still able. So this evening around 5 o'clock, I'll stand at her bow and see the dock. Out in the field from dawn till dusk, swimming in the blue pool is a must. That island where I was born, the first thing I'll do is roast some corn.
Wake up early one morning, kiss my mama goodbye. Going back to the island, I say, don't worry, mama, don't cry.
I'll be cooking outside in the iron pot, so young when I
So that was a song actually written by the aforementioned Ronnie Butler.
That makes sense to me, and I'll tell you why. That's actually my favorite Baha Men song.
It's good.
Right out the gate. First song, first album. To me, well, we've already peaked.
I like it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Baha Men song, but you really get a nice distillation of their early sound. You got that funky bass groove. It's layered on top of that driving percussion that just keeps going and going. Then you just throw in some kind of guitars for accent. It's just a very clean, fun, relaxing, you feel like you're on the beach.
Now, again, given where we live, this isn't something I'd throw on in my car, but...
No, well, we are recording this in Wisconsin in the middle of winter. It's like 10 fucking degrees outside right now.
Yep.
So like it's really hard to truly immerse yourself in that environment for us right now. But
When I was doing my research for all these records, I was listening to these at work.
yeah,
And it just didn't vibe with my office.
yeah. It is kind of hard to listen to a whole CD of Baha Men songs because like as like fun and upbeat as they are, like they're pretty much all dance songs. They're designed to like kind of get you up and moving. And, you know, you hear that one after another. If you were like at a live show, like it would totally make sense and you would be dancing and there'd probably be attractive people of both sexes around.
Yeah.
It would be a fucking fun.
No, again,
time.
if we were in Nassau and we were drinking at the bar and these guys come out and start the set with this, I wouldn't be upset.
No, we'd be grooving.
Let's listen to one more.
Yeah.
Which one do you want,
Yeah,
Nick?
this is going to be my favorite. This is a song called Mama Lelele.
Mama lele, mama lele, mama lele, mama lele. White gown and dingy coat. Pull up your gown, let me see your coat. White gown and dingy coat. Pull up your gown, let me see your coat. Mama lele. Mama lele, mama lele, mama lele.
Dude, if more pop music had bass lines like that,
Oh, fuck. yeah.
goddamn, I would listen to a lot more pop music.
Oh, yeah, God. Like, Isaiah can fucking bring it, can't
Yep.
he? God.
Which is a shame given where we're going. I don't want to spoil too much. We'll get there.
I like that. That should have been the song that was blasted at sports stadiums. That's good shit. I like everything about that song. I don't know about you, Cal, but I consider Junkanoo to be the best Baha Men album.
Yeah, easily. If you want to impress your hipster friends with your deep music knowledge, posit to them that the first Baha Men album
like,
isn't
oh.
actually that bad.
It's like, oh, you like Who Let the Dogs Out? Have you heard their original or their early stuff?
It's actually pretty good.
I mean, I hate to be that guy. I hate to be like, oh, it was never better than the first disc. Cause like, that's not always true of bands. In fact, it usually isn't true of bands, but I just feel it's true about this band and this album. And I think like over time, we're going to see why it is true is because they kind of would dilute it a little bit more and more with each release. So this album was a success in the Caribbean, but it failed to make a big splash in the United States or really any major market. And that's not a big surprise. Like, just consider the state of American music in 1992. You have grunge, Nirvana and Soundgarden on one side, and you have fucking NWA on the other. Like, where does this shit fit in?
Yeah, it had no hope.
You really got to hand it to Steve Greenberg. It's a testament to his faith in the band that he somehow believed these guys would eventually hit it big.
I wanted to do a thought experiment with you, Nick.
Go for it.
Do we see what Steve Greenberg saw? Because, for me, if I saw this band, even live,
Yeah.
it would just be another Caribbean bar band to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. It's definitely, it doesn't really sound like anything else that's out there in the world of pop music at that time. And it's fun, but it doesn't seem like an obvious pop hit.
No, especially like you said, with like the scene going on, rap kicking off.
Yeah.
Is he hoping the Beastie Boys will sample this at some point? I don't understand what...
I know, like I really don't know what he was going for, or if it was just like maybe he thought it was just like some kind of like low cap investment that there's a slim chance it might hit it big.
That
but,
I could see. I bet you're right. It's a low risk, high reward type thing.
Yeah.
I'll throw these guys a few grand and just
Like
see what happens.
Maybe people get tired of this grunge shit and they just want to relax down by the beach.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
In 1994, Baha Men followed up Junkanoo with their second album, Calic, named after the sound that the Caribbean cowbell makes. This record essentially offers more of the same, but they start to add additional producers and songwriters, and the sound starts to shift towards more mainstream pop and rock influences. Consider this song, which was actually written by Lenny Kravitz of all people.
Just a sunny day.
Nick, I gotta say, there's something about Lenny Kravitz. He looks like he smells bad.
He looks like he smells bad.
Yeah, I don't want to derail this too bad, but he looks like an all-natural deodorant type guy to me. I don't know.
No, like I've never thought about him that way, but I kind of see it. Like he looks like he practices this like just woke up at 11 a.m. look.
Yeah.
Like, so I think the production is a little bit better on Calic, but again, some of the songs tend to drag on a bit too long. There just aren't enough good hooks on this album. Like Junkanoo has a few songs that have really good hooks. This one, really not so much.
Yeah, I think it's already a little more boring. I get why Lenny came in and chopped some of the Junkanoo stuff.
Yeah.
But again, to me, you're already then making them more generic, and that's not what they needed.
No. So this album wasn't a big hit either. But according to Wikipedia, like one of the songs actually charted in Canada and New Zealand. So making some headway.
Yeah.
After this album, Steve Greenberg moved from Atlantic to Polygram Records, and the band moved with him. Their first album on Polygram was 1997's I Like What I Like. Generally speaking, this is also kind of an unremarkable record, but I really like this track. This is actually a mashup of two classic songs by Casey and the Sunshine Band. You'll definitely recognize them. I don't know, I really like this song. I think it's one of my favorite Baha Men tracks.
Yeah, it's fitting for them that two covers mashed up would be one of their best ones.
Yeah, like a lot of the Baha Men songs are covers, or they're songs, sometimes they're songs that Steve Greenberg wrote for them. Songwriting isn't really their strength, it's the performance, and I think really they're a live band.
Yeah.
So it's hard to translate that to their albums, but this song in particular, doing the Casey and the Sunshine Band in this way, it just feels like a wedding band. And I'm not knocking wedding bands. My parents were in a wedding band, but it's like a really inventive wedding band that's just like kind of feeling a little bit cocky toward the end of their set. The whole crowd is like drunk and kind of amped up, and they just kind of want to take it up to 11,
Sure.
So they play this song. After I Like What I Like came 1998's Dung Spunk. I have no fucking idea. We like debated this like a lot, how to pronounce that, what it could potentially mean.
I'm convinced it's like an inside joke and they just named the album that. No one knows.
No, like I presume it's some kind of like Caribbean slang, but I Googled it as much as I could. I just absolutely nothing. So Dung Spunk.
Dung Spunk. Dung Spunk Meek.
I know, it sounds more German than anything else. My favorite track on Dung Spunk by far is the opening track, Exuma's Reincarnation. But wait a sec, you ask? Who's Exuma? Well, I'll tell you, but first we're going to have to take a little detour. Exuma is a musician, playwright, and author from the Bahamas. He was born McFarlane Gregory Anthony Mackey, and I know, that's a mouthful of a name, isn't it?
McFarlane Gregory Anthony Mackey.
I know. He grew up in the Bahamas, but he moved to New York at age 17 to study architecture. He ran out of money, and he began to play folk music in local clubs to pay the rent. So this is in the mid-60s, like when the Greenwich Village folk scene was at its peak. So he's playing in the same bars as like Bob Dylan and Peter, Paul, and Mary. So this is like the scene to be in if you were playing folk music during that era. Eventually, Exuma forgot about architecture and began recording his own music. His music drew from the traditions of Junkanoo, Carnival, Calypso, and traditional African music, as well as American folk. He also drew aesthetic inspiration from the West African tradition of Obia, which is a system of spiritual healing kind of similar to voodoo. He started dressing in these really crazy costumes, these obia dresses mixed with like a cowboy hat with a feather in it. He looked absolutely wild on stage, and he sang just this incredibly powerful original music. He has an amazing voice, and the whole thing just sounds like nothing else you've ever heard. He once described his sound as, quote, all music that has ever been written and all music not yet written. It's feeling, emotion, the sound of man, the sound of day creatures, night creatures, and electrical forces.
Dude, that's one of the most bold things I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you, he could back it up. Let's hear a cut from his self-titled debut album, Eczema.
I came down on a lightning bolt, 9 months in my mama's belly. When I was born, the midwife screamed and shout. I had fire and brimstone coming out of my mouth. On that summer, on the earth, na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na.
So I have to say the change from McFarlane Gregory Anthony Mackie to Eczema the Obia Men has got to be probably even better of a name change than High Voltage
Yeah.
to Baha Men.
No, that's
There's no way he was booking clubs as McFarlane Gregory.
come spend an evening with McFarlane Gregory Anthony Mackie.
He'll recite Watership Down from memory.
Yeah, Eczema is just really fucking cool, and I'm so glad that I found an excuse to talk about him on this show. You know how I found out about Eczema, by the way?
No.
It was a YouTube algorithm. I was listening to like whatever the fuck I was listening to a few years ago, and it just kind of popped up. I will admit I was on some substances that, you know, you wouldn't want to give to just anyone. And it really, I vibed with it. Like the Obia spirits came to me, and that's how everyone should experience Eczema. You need to like put on his record in the middle of the night, turn off the lights, and take some mushrooms and just let the spirits carry you to the netherworld. Okay, so how does this relate to Baha Men? You see, Eczema passed away in 1997, and the opening track of Dung Spank is a tribute to his legacy. Here's Eczema's reincarnation by Baha Men.
Boy, look here, me. I ain't gonna yet. Why you ain't gonna yet? Eczema been dead for a little while. He's still a bit man, you know.
Yeah, and you could still feel his spirit.
You hear that sound? Boy, that sound like something around here, you know. You hear that? Sound like something around here, you know. What does it sound like, Joe? What does it sound like? Oh, yeah? It sound like... My God! Living!
Sure.
Hey, running, boy! Hey, running! He face! I was caught up, man! Hey, running, boy! No, you're not!
Yeah, so that is a pretty fitting tribute. Unfortunately, the rest of Dung Spank is pretty mediocre. There is one more song off of Dung Spank that I would like to talk about. It's actually a cover of the Beach Boys song Kokomo, and I want you to pay attention to two things about this song. First, pay attention to the beat, because by now it's like almost straight up club music. And also, we're going to hear something that's going to become a feature of Baha Men music from here on out, a rap bridge.
Take a plane or a boat, then you go down south. So get ready, let's go. Let me take you to Kokomo. Hey, let's go, let's go. Let me take you to Kokomo.
Everybody knows a little place like Kokomo. Now if you wanna go and get away from it all, go down to Kokomo.
Yeah, I think this one's the first sign of times to come with the Baha Men.
Yeah, they're really just kind of trying to shoot for a more mainstream sound at this point.
Let's get something that a DJ can play in a club somewhere, and maybe we'll get some traction.
It feels like they spent a long time trying to figure out what their exact market is. And maybe by this time they were thinking like, well, maybe clubhouse music is kind of our scene. They weren't quite ready to go all the way there at this point. But they definitely were kind of testing the waters. More mainstream sound aside, Dung Spank only sold 700 copies in the United States.
Jesus Christ.
I know,
that's insanely low. There's Wisconsin polka bands putting out more than that.
I know. There's like Vitamin String Quartet of Alicia Keys albums that sell more than that. The Kids Bop Punk Covers album sold more than 700 albums.
Kids Bop kicked the Baha Men's ass.
However, there was actually one non-Caribbean country where the Baha Men did find success during this period. Any guesses what that country was, Cal?
Oh, I have one.
It's the only one that makes sense.
Yep. I think we both know it's Japan.
Who the fuck else? Who else would randomly love the Baha Men? And they did love them. Like, seriously, 2 of the Baha Men albums went platinum in Japan before Who Let the Dogs Out came out.
Yeah, they really have their own thing going on out there.
Yeah.
There's so many bands that across all genres that just don't make it here that for whatever reason just catch on like wildfire over there.
The phrase big in Japan exists for a reason. Actually, according to one article I read, the success of the Baha Men actually boosted Japanese tourism in the Bahamas. It was so much so that it forced Bahamian hotels to hire more Japanese translators.
That's amazing to me.
Like, they were fucking, like, flying out to the Bahamas looking for the Baha Men.
We're Baha Men!
We're Baha Men!
This is an album that if you look at it on, like, Amazon, it's got, like, a star.
I know.
And yet, it had a significant impact.
I know, like, All Music devotes, like, 2 sentences to this.
Yeah. But in the Bahamas, or for Japan and the Bahamas, this boosted the Bahamas GDP.
Yeah. So probably because they were only doing well in Japan, the next album, 2000, was released only in Japan in 1999. This album continues the gradual slide toward mediocrity as the band starts to incorporate more elements of pop, clubhouse, and hip-hop.
If the name is any indication.
So if you haven't figured it out, 2000, that's 2000, as in, it's 1999, the next year's gonna be 2000. Everything in 1999 had to reference the fact that
it was out of control.
It was insane.
And the funniest part is not a single one of those goddamn 2000 Millennium songs or albums or anything. Do you remember any of them?
No.
Every single one was a waste of time.
Completely. The other irony is that, like, I remember back then, people thought that 2000 was going to hit, and it was going to be like a fresh start. Everything was going to be better. Everything was going to be futuristic. The world was going to be amazing. Like, we'd be living in this, like, grand, like, tech utopia.
And here we are in 2020.
Oh, you poor 1999 bastards.
You told someone in 1990, like, Donald Trump's going to be president. My reaction was, who?
It's like, what, the guy from the Pizza Hut commercials?
Well, let's listen to a song. As much as I want to skip this,
Yeah, honestly,
let's listen to a song off it.
Yeah, neither of us really like this album, but we want to like play a little bit of why we don't like it. So here's the title track of 2000.
Lately I have been dreaming about another place and time where happiness ain't temporary and not just in my mind. If you don't wanna change it, that's okay, but I just wanna say, hey, take a look around. The world is falling down. Karma slaps you in the face. We got to make it right before it gets too late. How can we find the beginning when
So Cal, does that song inspire you to be optimistic about the future?
Jeez, goddamn, no, that's $2 in the bargain bin at Walmart.
Yeah, that's like beneath a pile of like Vin Diesel movies. So, surprise, surprise, this album too failed to reach the charts in Western countries. And it was around this time that the band's original vocalist, Nehemiah Heald, left the band.
You know, I don't blame him even a little bit.
No, I don't. And like he gave it his all. Like he was with the band like at least since the late 70s. Like and he's a good vocalist. I've got nothing against Nehemiah.
No, yeah, his big flaw is just he's generic. I don't think he fits this music.
No.
But he is, I agree, he's a good singer.
So he still does music. I heard somewhere that he became a backup vocalist for Lenny Kravitz, but I don't have confirmation on that. I do know that if you go on YouTube, you can find him doing like a lot of like religious and gospel music. And actually his voice kind of suits that.
I say that seems like it fits him.
It does. Like it suits him better than Baha Men does. So I hope he's happy.
So, you know, on the note of him quitting, you know, we're how many years into this story? They've had no real commercial success. It makes sense that he quit. And with most bands, I feel like this would be the end of the story.
Yeah, really. Like they'd been bouncing between major labels. They'd been doing a lot of touring, you know, but besides Japan, they're just not hitting it big. But Isaiah Taylor and the band would not give up. And equally important, Steve Greenberg would not give up on them. Indeed, Greenberg was adamantly convinced that he could break Baha Men into the mainstream if only he could find the right song for them. By 1998, he believed he had.
Hey, ladies, take charge of this one. Are you run things? I'm leaving you in charge. Hear this, hear this. The party was late, the party was pumping. Hey, yippee-yi-yo, and everybody having a ball. Yeah, man, yippee-yi-yo, until a man start the name calling. Oh, yeah, yippee-yi-yo. Then a girl respond to the call. I hear a woman shout out, who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? That's how in the dance, and a boy called me Billy Bug and Skentel. Get back, Fluffy, mash Fluffy, get back, you flea infested mongrel. Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs
You know, when you first played me this, it felt like everything I knew was a lie.
Sorry, we just ruined your childhood, everybody.
Who let the dogs out as a cover?
Yeah, that is the man behind the curtain. Like, this is the Wizard of Oz moment.
Yep.
No, so yeah, that's the original version of this song. And to be fair, like, the Baha Men never denied that it is a cover. The guy who sang that was a guy named Anselm Douglas, and he was from Trinidad. He put out that song in 1997. And you might not have heard of it, but this song was actually kind of a hit in the Caribbean during the late 90s. But the origins of this song and its infectious hook are surprisingly complex. Therefore, we're going to have to take another detour. So this is probably going to be the craziest part of this episode. Like, seriously, the story of who wrote Who Let the Dogs Out is a mindfuck. So we all know that Baha Men made Who Let the Dogs Out into a hit, but it turns out that over the years numerous individuals from all over the world have claimed credit for writing all or part of this song. It's resulted in multiple lawsuits and millions of dollars in settlements. So I gotta acknowledge a source here. There's a 2019 documentary called Who Let the Dogs Out by a filmmaker named Brett Hodge. You can find it on Amazon Prime Video. It's only $1 to rent. I highly encourage you to watch it. It's really entertaining. But it basically just explores the history of who wrote Who Let the Dogs Out in excruciating detail. So most of the following section is going to be drawn from that documentary.
I'm going to let you guys know ahead of time. I did not write any of this part of the script. I have not seen this film. I'm completely on the ride with you.
I deliberately kept this from Cal because it's such a mindfuck that I wanted him to react to it in real time. Like, it's just so fucking insane.
Yeah. So I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. So, okay, let's back up a little bit. So you just heard the quote-unquote original version of Who Let the Dogs Out by Anselm Douglas. So this was a hit in the Caribbean, but it was pretty much unknown outside of that region. But at some point, a copy of the song fell into the hands of a producer named Jonathan King. Jonathan King is another figure like Steve Greenberg, where ordinary people haven't heard of him, but he's a really big deal in the music industry. He's had like a crazy long history of success in pop music. He discovered and produced the band Genesis, actually gave them their name too, and he's had a hand in a number of top 40 hits like Sugar Sugar, Hooked on a Feeling, Johnny Reggae, and he also discovered and promoted the Chumbawamba hit Tub Thumpin'. So if you like that song...
Fuck yeah.
If you like that song, he's probably the reason you've heard of it. Otherwise, it would have just like stayed in the little British anarcho-punk scene.
Now, unlike Who Let the Dogs Out, I'm not ashamed to say I loved Tub Thumpin'.
Everybody loves Tub Thumpin', man.
That song is still fun.
I prefer the Homer Simpson version. I get knocked down. I get knocked down again. You're never gonna knock me down. One thing I should also mention about Jonathan King, and I feel weird talking about this, but I'd probably feel even weirder not talking about it. He's a convicted child molester.
No.
I'm sorry. But no, like, he was convicted of child sexual abuse in 2001, sentenced to 7 years, but was released on parole in 2005. And I only mention that because, like, you just can't gloss over that.
No, it is part of the story in a weird way.
Yeah.
I mean, Hollywood and the music industry are crawling with these types worse than the Catholic Church.
It is. It's gross and just a sad part of the entertainment world. I'm not going to like get into like the history of Jonathan King's like legal troubles, but I did like learn on Wikipedia that the first time he was arrested in 2001, one of the people who helped bail him out was Simon Cowell.
Oh, God.
Yeah, for real. Simon Cowell paid £50,000 to help bail Jonathan King out of jail for molesting children.
He must have had a record he needed to put out.
That's how big of a deal Jonathan King is, I guess.
I was realizing we made it exactly half an episode before bringing up pedos somehow.
We tried.
Again, this is the thing. It's like inherent in this industry for some reason.
But he also was never really repentant about it. He felt that like the British media like really screwed him over and gave him a bad name. And at one point he made like some kind of play or movie where he played all the parts and he was trying to exonerate himself and show that the media was screwing him over. It's a thing.
He did a one-man show about how it was right that he raped these kids.
He's a wacky dude.
That's bad, man. That's really funny, though.
We might someday have to do a mini-sode on Jonathan King. Like, from what I could glance off of Wikipedia alone tells me that this guy's led a fucked up life.
When we're mature enough to cover a pedophile, we'll get into it.
I couldn't not tell you that, Cal. I'm just picturing, like, when I heard that he did a movie where he played all the parts, like, I thought of, like, those Eddie Murphy movies.
That's the funniest thing ever. It's like the Clumps, but with a rapist.
the Clumps about how...
And he rapes himself.
Jonathan King had a hairstylist named Keith. Keith liked to vacation in Trinidad and would occasionally bring back tapes of local music for Mr. King. One of those tapes included Anselm Douglas's Doggy, and Jonathan King liked it so much that he recorded his own version under the name Fat Jack and His Pack of Pets. Let's listen to that one.
Who let the dogs out? Everybody was bumping. And everybody having a ball. Yeah, man. Until the man lives out to them calling. Oh, yeah. And every girl respond to their call. I hear a woman shout out. Who let the dogs out? 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 There's every minute and the boy called a million buck downs can tell. Get back, Fluffy. Nice puppy. Get back, you flea infested mongrel.
What the fuck?
I know.
So why did he decide he needed to be the Caribbean guy?
I know, like, he could have just given Anselm Douglas a record deal. Like, instead, like, it's like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pretend to be a Caribbean guy, and I'm gonna be a fucking millionaire.
Well, and then what's with the lady through the beginning? It's insane.
It's almost like he just went to the studio receptionist and asked her, "Come here, love. You want to do a track for me? Just lay down some vocals." Like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense. Like,
It's a character.
it's a character. I'm being the Caribbean man. Hey, man, just feel the vibe. Feel the vibe, love. So, yeah, surprisingly, that did not become a hit.
Yeah, no shit.
Can you, like, imagine that one being played at, like, an NFL playoff game?
They're trying to like hype people up and they just, blah, blah, blah.
But here's the thing. That version of the song was actually the first version that Steve Greenberg heard. Now, Steve Greenberg didn't like it any more than you probably did, but he also noticed that he couldn't get the hook out of his head. And this made him think that maybe this song could actually become a hit if he could get the right singer for it. And that made him think of the Baha Men. Now, ultimately, we know that Greenberg was right. This was the best song for the Baha Men to do. But we'll get back to that story in a little bit. First, we have to jump ahead to the 2000s and settle a little legal dispute. Okay, so, just flash forward a little bit. So after Who Let the Dogs Out became a worldwide hit, Anselm Douglas, who, remember, was credited as the songwriter, made a shit ton of money off of royalties. But of course, with mo money comes mo problems, and Douglas faced at least 2 lawsuits from parties claiming that they were the ones responsible for the hit. So the first lawsuit came from Douglas's friend Ozzie Gurley. Ozzie was credited as the arranger on the track Doggy, but he later claimed that he co-wrote the song, and this resulted in a gigantic 6-year legal battle, which was settled out of court, but it ruined a friendship in the process.
Wow. So the Baha Men are responsible for at least one real-life friendship destroyed.
Yes. The second lawsuit came from 2 guys named Patrick Stevenson and Leroy Williams. These guys were production assistants at a Canadian radio station. They claimed that they were the ones that came up with the hook, Who Let the Dogs Out, for a radio jingle in 1995. So, again, this wasn't an entire song. It was basically just the, Who Let the Dogs Out, woof, 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 woof. That was it. But when you think about it, that's most of the song, right?
Yeah.
You see, it turns out that Anselm Douglas's brother-in-law worked as a DJ at that same radio station, and he passed the hook along to Douglas. So this suit was also settled out of court, and Anselm Douglas had to admit in legal writing that he didn't write that hook. All right, are you with me so far, Cal?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I need a chart with pictures and string tying them all together, but I think I'm with you.
Well, good, because it's about to get even weirder. You see, it turns out that Stevenson and Williams weren't the first guys to come up with that hook. Check out this song from 1994, recorded by a production duo called 20 Fingers with a rapper named Gillette.
NBA Jam was a good game.
So that was the song You're a Dog by 20 Fingers featuring Gillette. And I will grant that it's not exactly the same. It's Who Let the Dogs Loose, not Who Let the Dogs Out. And it's a refrain, it's not a chorus, but god damn.
It's pretty fucking close.
I know, and it's a year, at least a year before Stevenson and Williams said that they wrote their song. So, like in the documentary, the producers actually asked Stevenson and Williams, have you ever heard of a song by 20 Fingers and Gillette called You're a Dog? And these guys respond like, no.
Yeah, right.
What, me? Why, I never heard of that.
So would you agree that it's pretty wild that your song goes, who, almost the same way?
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. 20 Fingers never actually got involved in all this legal shit, and that was because they were humble enough to admit that they probably heard the phrase somewhere else. But where did they hear it from? To answer that, we have to go back to 1992 to Jacksonville, Florida.
Boom, once again with another track. MVP and the two getting ready to attack. Here we come with that every 12 home. 50 hertz that'll make it numb. Oh yeah, don't touch that dial. Everybody rock it Miami style. We're gonna drop all the bass for which you thirsty. We're coming for your women and your children first. MVP is the one let the dogs out. The two made the sounds that made shout. The club is booming cause the bass is pumping. Party people on the floor, you got to move something. Whoa, wiggle, jiggle, let's do that dance to make the fellas look. So wiggle that booty right out of that skirt. Come on everybody, let's work.
Dude, that song fucking rips. I don't care what anybody says.
I like that. That's the second best one to Fat Jacks.
Yeah. Like that one I could see you were at some kind of middle school mixer back in the day. Like we would be fucking jamming to that,
Hell
right?
yeah. Trying to do the worm.
So that was actually recorded by two white kids from Jacksonville named Brett and Joe. They were part of a rap group called Miami Boom Productions. Yeah, they were from Jacksonville, but it's called Miami Boom because there was a scene called Miami Bass, and that was a Miami Bass song.
I think they just didn't want to be associated with Jacksonville. No one wants Jacksonville Boom.
No, what's a Jacksonville Boom?
That's when your meth lab blows up.
So Miami Boom Productions, they were never big players. They never got a record deal. They never released anything commercially. They were basically just two high school kids having fun. Actually, they one of them says they wrote the lyrics to that song on the back of a Little Caesars bag because they were working at Little Caesars at the time.
That seems fitting.
Yeah. But imagine this, Cal. Like, imagine that, you write this like little goofy ass song when you're in high school, and then like you stop rapping, you go to college, you move on with your life. Then 10 years later, you turn on the radio and your fucking song is being
Dude, that'd
played.
be insane. That would be such a trip.
What a mind fuck.
That'd be like us finding out Happy Fun Communist Cheese Party, like SNL used one of our skits.
Yeah, Cal and I actually did a sketch comedy show way, way, way back in the day. You'll never see any footage of it because I don't think any of it exists, and if we did, we'd probably burn it.
It exists on a VHS hidden in my top drawer. The same way you'd hide, like, I don't know, condoms or something when you're a kid.
Like, someone's going to have to do some Mission Impossible shit to find that. So Brett and Joe knew that they had written the song first, but they didn't have any legal proof of it because the only extant copy of the song was on a floppy disk.
That's the save icon for you youngins out there.
So what happens in the documentary is that the producers, like, they track down the sampler that these discs were recorded on. They put the floppy disks into the sampler, and they're able to finally definitively prove that these discs from 1992 are the original Who Let the Dogs Out song. Okay, so that's it, right? It can't possibly go back any further, right, Cal?
No, God, no. How can it?
It can, and it does.
What the fuck?
So actually, like, it turns out if you go back a little bit, high school football teams were doing chants, as they still do to this day. And you can find video footage of these high school football teams chanting something like, "Who let the dogs out? Woof, 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 woof." There's video of that going all the way back to like the mid-'80s.
You know, in a weird way, that makes sense. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's a fucking chant.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the chant is most of the song.
That high school chant is like the first bacteria you put in a petri dish. And that's how we got where we are now.
The whole reason that I told this whole story is because think about Who Let the Dogs Out. It's probably the simplest song we may ever cover on this show. It's so fucking stupid. 90% of it is in that little hook. So you wouldn't think that a song like that would involve lawsuits and plagiarism and theft and international intrigue the way this shit does. This should not be a documentary's length worth of material. Like, imagine a fucking Barbie girl is worth a 1 hour documentary.
Blue Dabba-Dee. You find out like there's like this whole story behind Dabba-Dee. Like, no, I came up with that first.
No, it was Doobadee, but but then they changed it to Dabbadee. But my shit was the fucking first. So perhaps, in summary, we may finally never know who let the dogs out.
I think it's an existential question.
It goes back to Aristotle.
Yes, the dog was in our heart the entire time.
Were the dogs ever really in, Cal? Let's get back to the Baha Men. Now remember, at this point, their singer had just left, so the band didn't even have a front man. They ended up replacing Nehemiah Heald with not one but 3 guys. Rick Carey, Marvin Prosper, and Amrit Heald. These are the 3 guys that you remember from the Who Let the Dogs Out video. And actually 2 of these guys had family connections to the band. Rick is the son of guitarist Pat Carey, and Amrit is Nehemiah Heald's nephew.
Do you think that was awkward at all? Do you
Is
think
it
there was
replacing
a bit,
your uncle?
Yeah, was there a bit of like, the apprentice beating the master going on here?
I kind of want to think it was like a passing the torch thing. Like, it's like, my boy, I've trained you for this all my life.
I sat and put in the work with these fuckers, and now they have this dog song, and I know it's going to get big, so hop on board.
Today, at last, you become a member of the Baha Men.
Yes.
You were a Baha boy, now you're a Baha Man.
Yes.
Together, this trio transformed the vibe of the band into something more aggressive, youthful, and modern. So, like let's just circle back to like where our story had started. So, Steve Greenberg, he heard the cover of Doggy, and he wanted the Baha Men to do it. But actually, Isaiah Taylor didn't want to do it at first.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
I'm sure to him, he knew this was like that proverbial sellout moment.
Yeah. And I think also he says that the song was popular in the Caribbean. So, like, from his vantage point, it's like, why would you do that again? I don't know. It's like if we recorded Wet Ass Pussy. Like, not that you and I would record that song, but it's just the first contemporary hit that popped into my head. Like, actually,
Yeah,
you and I should do Wet Ass
that
Pussy.
seems actually like a worthwhile idea.
Okay. So eventually, Steve Greenberg convinced Isaiah Taylor to record the song with Baha Men. It was the first song that they recorded it with the 3 new singers. And so Steve Greenberg, you got to picture this. He has the tape in his hand. He plays the song for his bosses at the record label, and they laughed at him.
I wish I could say I was surprised.
No, they didn't see it as a hit. And it's dumb. Like, sometimes dumb things work and sometimes dumb things don't. So what did Steve Greenberg do? He quit, and he founded his own label, S-Curve, and he released Who Let the Dogs Out as the first single.
Yeah, you gotta respect the balls on that. I love that.
No shit, right?
That's like when Michael Scott started the Michael Scott Paper Company.
This is like the Michael Scott Paper Company, except it takes over the paper industry.
He was actually right the whole time.
So when S-Curve was promoting Who Let the Dogs Out, they had a 2-pronged marketing strategy. The sports market and the kids market.
Yeah, that's exactly how I remember the song.
Oh, yeah.
Every stadium and all over Nickelodeon.
And we were, like we said before, we were kids when this came out, so this was blasted in our face constantly. So you probably remember how often this song was played in sports stadiums, and that was actually by design. You see, Steve Greenberg actually tasked one of his friends with the assignment of finding out who picks the records in every baseball and football stadium in the country, and basically just like badgering them into playing Who Let the Dogs Out.
What else are you going to play? This is the best song you got.
I would love it if I feel like he like went full gangster on them. It was like, it's a pretty nice sports stadium you got. Be a shame if something happened to it.
You're gonna play Who Let the Dogs Out.
Or some dogs are gonna be let out on you. So the first like major sports stadium to start using Who Let the Dogs Out was Safeco Field. That's where the Seattle Mariners play baseball. And it was used as the walk-up music for Alex Rodriguez. And he was doing really well at the time. Like, he was just like an up-and-coming phenomenon. And the Mariners were really hot, too. Like, I think they had like a 90-plus win season that year. They went on to go into the playoffs. And eventually, like, this song started to spread to other sports stadiums until it was in every baseball stadium. And then football starts in the fall, and it's in every football stadium. And then it just took over the whole sports scene. So then the other thing was the kids market, and this one was probably even more interesting. See, the team behind Baha Men were interested in lobbying to get the song played on a show on Nickelodeon called Nick Video Picks. Do you remember Nick Video Picks, Cal?
I don't at all.
Me neither, and I watched a lot of Nickelodeon, so this is weird. But apparently this was like Nickelodeon's version of TRL.
That sounds horrific.
I know, if you could make TRL worse somehow. But like, you would like vote online for the song that you would want to get played on Nick Video Picks, and they would like play the video. And of course, it must have been like a pretty limited number of songs, because like obviously you can't play like any rap music or like
you can't have kids pick Eminem Stan.
You can't have them playing Nookie or.
I just realized on the story you told me. So they corner the kids market in an alternate universe. John King got the hit, and he cornered the kids' market.
Oh, no.
So in a way, we're lucky the Baha Men exist. They're kind of heroes.
Oh, boy. So they would, they were trying to get this show on Nick Video Picks, and they would like call everyone they knew, like all their like lovers and friends and relatives, and they would just have them all log on to the Nickelodeon site and just click over and over again. I'm just picturing like this, like if you ever make a movie about Baha Men, they're like huddled in front of this like Apple computer and they're clicking Baha Men, vote. They hit refresh. It takes fucking 3 minutes to refresh, of course, because it's 2000. And then they do it and they do it and they do it. And then finally, yay, we did it. We got the Baha Men on Nickelodeon.
The internet has learned since then the dangers of letting a single IP address vote more than once.
I know.
Mountain Dew did a name the next flavor contest.
Oh no.
And 4chan made it. They had no limit set, just like this.
What?
4chan made it so the winning flavor was called Hitler Did Nothing Wrong.
Jesus Christ. Fucking A, man. So, obviously, we know that Who Let the Dogs Out just took over the kids' universe. Like, it wasn't long before corporate America figured out that this band was a license to print money as far as kids were concerned. As such, Disney and Nickelodeon got into a bidding war for the soundtrack rights to Who Let the Dogs Out. Disney wanted it for the sequel to 101 Dalmatians, while Nickelodeon wanted it for Rugrats in Paris. Ultimately, Rugrats won the day.
God damn it.
Doesn't that seem like a missed opportunity, Cal?
Yeah, 101 Dalmatians is literally perfect.
Definitely much more on brand.
Imagine 101 Dalmatians getting loose.
I would want to know. I would want to know who let those dogs out, because that has consequences.
Instead, it got commandeered by a bunch of babies with misshapen heads.
I know. There's only one dog in Rugrats. So we tend to think of Who Let the Dogs Out as a kid's song, right? And indeed, the band won not one but 2 Kids' Choice Awards that year. But is it really all that family friendly? To find out, let's take a deep dive into the lyrics of Who Let the Dogs Out. Okay, so here's what's going to happen now. I am going to have Cal read out the lyrics to Who Let the Dogs Out. He has never seen this, so we're just going to have him recite the lyrics, and we'll just free associate what comes to mind. All right, let's do this. I can't wait.
I gotta get my game face on.
Oh yeah, just center.
All right. Well, the party was nice, and the party was bumping.
Yippee-yi-yo.
And everybody was having a ball. Until the fellas start the name calling, and the girls respond to the call. I hear a woman shout out, "Who let the dogs out?" Last year in the dance you had a ball. You call me Millibug and Skettle. Get back, Fluffy. Get back, Scruffy. Get back, you flea-infested mongrel. Now I tell myself, hey man, don't get angry. To hear dem girls calling dem canine. But they tell me, hey man, it's part of the party. They put a woman in front and a man behind. I hear a woman shout out, who let the dogs out? This is the start of the rap bridge.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm a dog, the party is on. I gotta get my groove, 'cause my mind done gone. Do you see the rays coming from my eyes? Walking through the place. The DJ man's breaking it down. Me in my white short shorts. And I can't see color. Any color will do. I'll stick it on you, that's why they call me Pitbull. 'Cause I'm the man of the land. And when they see me, they say, woo. A doggy is nothing if you no have a bone. All doggy, hold your bone.
Yay! Well done, my friend.
That was my dramatic reading. The lyrics are interesting.
They are. Like, okay, what comes to mind when you think about those lyrics that you just read?
Well, so initially it came off to me like, a chauvinistic song. Like, we're coming in. We're the dogs. This is our club. Woman in front, man behind.
Yeah.
I'm holding my bone or whatever.
Yeah. So it's very, very sexual lyrics, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I would not call it kid-friendly.
No.
But
but the thing is, like, nobody knew the lyrics to
no,
the dogs
you can't
out back in the
understand
day.
shit that guy's saying. But, fun fact, the part where he says DJ Man as a kid, I thought he was talking about Digimon. Because the way he said it, like, Digimon,
I had no idea what any of those rap bridge lyrics were. And actually, like, I should note that the rap bridge is original to the Baha Men, but everything else was written by Anselm Douglas or Ozzie Gurley or Patrick Stevenson or wherever the fuck you believe.
We know at least it wasn't Miami Boom.
Yeah. Like, okay, so here's the thing, though. In terms of the actual meaning of the song, Anselm Douglas claims it's actually a female empowerment anthem. Basically, it's women pushing back against men who slut-shame them. You see, remember those words millibug and skettle that were in the second verse?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are actually Caribbean slang terms. They mean like the equivalent of slut or whore or something like that. So the men call these women millibug and skettle, and the women push back by saying, get back Fluffy, and get back Scruffy, get back you flea-infested mongrel. They're calling the men dogs, and they're saying, who let those dogs out? So it's women pushing back against slut-shaming.
Once you say it like that, I actually buy it.
And I'm sure that's what A-Rod was thinking when he put it as his walk-up music for Seattle Mariners games. In addition to 2 Kids' Choice Awards, Who Let the Dogs Out earned numerous other honors, including 2 Billboard Awards and a Grammy for Best Dance Recording. This is actually like a really big deal in the Bahamas because they were the first Bahamian artist to win a Grammy. This is considered such a big deal that the city of Nassau held a parade in their honor, and the prime minister of the country gave them all keys to the city.
Yeah, I love this because I have a movie scene in my head, basically.
I know, like it writes itself. Like
I can just see the guy handing it to him, like, this song, it's fucking stupid. But
you made us proud, Mom.
Yeah. When people think about the Bahamas, it won't just be rum and hurricanes. It'll be rum, hurricanes,
and dogs running around.
Baha Men.
No, so this is like the apex of the feel-good Baha Men story. This is that point in the movie where they're on top of like some kind of platform. Crowds are cheering around them. They're getting this key with a photo op. And then you dissolve to black and you fade into the follow-up album, Move It Like This.
Hey, yeah, this Baha Men, and we gonna kick it like this. We gonna keep you moving from the dance floor. Move it, man.
I can shake it like that.
Can you move it like this?
I can shake it like that.
Can you move it like this?
I can shake it like that.
Come on, ladies, rock the party.
Shake your body, everybody.
Come on, everybody. Let's move it all night. For
Yeah.
You know, when we started this, I fully expected, the Who Let the Dogs album to be the one where I was sitting there going, why the fuck am I doing a podcast about bad music? It's not that bad, because, spoiler alert, guys, it keeps getting way worse from here.
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. There was a YouTube comment on the video for this song that said something to the effect of, I remember this song from a disc that came with my Mighty Kids meal when I was a kid. And I feel like that pretty much sums up the vibe of this song.
Yeah. No, to me, this is something you hear at like the trampoline zone or something.
Yeah. Like it feels like their main goal in producing this song was to win a second consecutive Kids' Choice Award.
Yeah.
Let's just zero in on that. Really, the rest of that album isn't much better than that song. I'm sorry, but every song is just super cheesy, super overproduced, and the lyrics are vapid even by Baha Men standards. Basically, they're just kind of devolving from Junkanoo into generic dance and hip-hop.
So we're in what I call soundtrack land, where they're clearly just writing songs to get put in some fucking movie soundtrack. Maybe we can sell this to Secret Life of Pets and they'll put it in the trailer.
Yeah, it's just the most middle-of-the-road corporate schlock. And it's funny that you mention soundtracks because the Baha Men, during this period, they were on a ton of different soundtracks. The song Best Years of Our Lives was on the Shrek soundtrack. The song Holla ended up on Garfield. And then they did a cover of Elton John's Crocodile Rock for, drumroll please, the Crocodile Hunter movie.
No way.
I almost wonder if they wanted the Elton John version, but just didn't want to pay quite as much money. But
who are those Caribbean guys that are covering anything?
Baha Men, they'll do it for cheap. But that might not be the cringiest one of all. Check out this song from a Disney-produced album called Mickey's Dance Party.
Here's a tale that I want to tell ya. What a pretty girl lost in the wood. She's scared now, she got a big problem. She knows she's not in her neighborhood. I hear somebody shouting, who wants the white up? 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 There's a little cottage now. She's walking through the front door with 7 chairs, 7 plates, 7 beds. Who could be living here? Now the evil queen, she getting so angry.
Do you think Isaiah stayed up all night writing those lyrics?
I hope not, dude. I hope that some mid-level corporate executive at Disney did that for him. Can you imagine the band on the tour bus be like, okay, man, so we gotta do Who Let the Dogs Out, but it's Disney, so what do they have? Oh, Snow White, she's asleep, so who woke Snow White up? It's brilliant, man.
There's no dogs in this movie.
But what do they got? The dwarves! They got dwarves!
Oh.
Let's do dwarves. They got dwarves.
Heidi-hi-ho.
Heidi-hi-ho.
It's
genius.
No, I bet you're right. It's some executive on the 5th day of his cocaine bender. I need something to put in here.
Oh
Those
god.
Baha Men guys, they'll do fucking anything.
Let's just be a little bit fair. It's hard to succeed in the music business. And you want to seize opportunities. And yeah, these guys have been working so hard for so long. Part of me gets it, but also don't you just have a little bit of integrity? Fucking Disney, who woke Snow White up?
I think you get a taste of that green and you can't go back. Isaiah's I could pay all my bills. He's just living the life finally.
Yeah, but they were already millionaires, and they already lived in the Bahamas. It's not like they can move somewhere cool.
It's not like they're living here.
Yeah. So, needless to say, the Baha Men weren't doing commercially all that well around this time. Who Let the Dogs Out, the album, went triple platinum, but Move It Like This only sold less than 300,000 copies. They were making a lot of money on soundtracks, but they definitely weren't doing anything on the charts. In 2002, Steven Greenberg and Baha Men parted ways. Not long after that, vocalists Marvin Prosper and Amrit Heald left the band, and they were replaced by two new guys, Leroy Butler and Dyson Knight.
Steve Greenberg finally bailed.
I don't know anything about his relationship with the band at this point. Like, I don't know if like they got into some kind of blow up. I assume they're on good terms.
I think he probably just realized the ship has sailed. We're
Yeah.
not topping Who Let the Dogs Out.
Yeah, like he was like just about to do his work with the Jonas Brothers around this time.
Okay.
So like, I think he just saw like, okay, there's my cash cow.
Yeah, that's a faster moving train. We're going over there.
Yeah. The Baha Men kind of floundered without him, like to the extent that they not like they were making like revolutionary great music before, but I really think that like after this, after Steve leaves and after those two other vocalists leave, like they really tank. If you thought that what we just played for you was bad, take a listen to this. This is their 2004 album Holla. Holla with an exclamation point.
What's good with you now? Hey, oh, you know what to do now. Holla, holla. We got the rhythm, we got the most fun. Like this, we're gonna drop the beat. Rock the house, get you up on your feet. Get away from the ride race. It's a party. Like that, we're gonna raise the roof. Let the music do its thing to you. Play your head and get it started. Move your body. Come on, I'll take you for a ride. Drop the top and dance all night. Life is good, so let me hear you holler. Hey, oh, what's good with you now? Hey, oh, you know what to do now. Holla, holla. We got the rhythm, we got the most fun. Hey, oh, what's good with you now? Hey, oh.
Good God.
It's it's torturous listening to all this music, like not just because it's bad, but because it stays with me. Like when I'm at work making drinks, I have songs like that playing in my head. I'm one of those people that I always have a song stuck in my head almost like every minute, and I can't choose what I hear. And sometimes I hear like Move It Like This, or I hear fucking Holla. I don't like it. I don't like anything about that song, but it's just fucking with me
This
for
is the
hours
pain.
and hours.
This is the pain we put ourselves through for you guys.
We're really suffering for you guys.
That
I hope you
happened to
appreciate
me,
this.
dude. That happened to me in the shower this morning. With we didn't play it for you guys, but they do a cover of "Lime in the Coconut,"
Oh God.
and that I was sitting there in the shower going "Lime in the Coconut," and their version, not even the good one.
I don't know how they made that song worse, but they did.
Yeah, it's something.
No, actually, you know what, Cal? We should play that song.
Oh, Mr. Doctor, man, I think I'm going insane. My girl's been creeping on me and my heart is filled with pain. Now I can't sleep, can't eat, can't stop this funky beat. Can't you hear it? She keeps playing in my head. Baby, you really drive me coconuts. Tell me, what am I gonna do? You put the lime in the coconut and drink it all up. You put the lime in the coconut and drink it all up. You put the lime in the coconut and drink it all up. You put the lime in the coconut and call the doctor, woke him up and said,
Actually, like one thing I forgot about that song is that, did you notice they're using auto-tune?
Yeah,
This is 2002. I don't think they're the first to use auto-tune, but they're definitely ahead of the curve a little bit.
Kanye wasn't doing it yet.
No, like maybe that's where he got the idea.
He found that shit in his Mighty Meal.
It's like, all right, can I get a Mighty Kids meal with a double hamburger and make sure I get the CD with it. Like, all right, let me put this in. Oh my God, this is genius. I'm gonna do this. So, a couple other things about Holla. First of all, that was the song that was on the Garfield soundtrack.
I knew Garfield was going to claw his way into this somehow. They just seem like a Garfield soundtrack band.
No, like just especially that fucking movie. The movie like tanked, by the way,
Well,
if you've never heard.
I can just picture some CG orange fat cat dancing around to this shit. Like, this is where we are
I
as
know.
a culture.
These are like the movie producers that just have no respect for the taste of the American public. Like, you dumb motherfuckers will buy anything. So by this point, the Baha Men have basically been reduced to just a generic pop/hip hop band. You gotta wonder what Isaiah Taylor is thinking during this period. He brought these guys up from scratch. He worked his ass off playing nightclubs, hotels, doing covers, just assembling this whole band together, taking them all around the world, taking them to, Atlantic City, to Japan, to England, to wherever the fuck they were. And you listen to this album, you can't even hear his bass. We already showed you he's a good bass player, but you don't hear him. You hear these fucking drum machines and synths and just layers of just studio crap.
All I can figure is he's in full collect the paycheck mode.
Yeah.
Why leave the band if money's coming in?
I can kind of understand from his perspective. Either I get this check or this like rich white guy in a suit gets to keep it. I might as well just milk this for all it's worth. So there's a YouTuber I really like. He's called Todd in the Shadows. He did a video on Baha Men, and he described them in this period of their career. He called them the Caribbean Black Eyed Peas.
That's perfect.
It really is. Like, it's just Black Eyed Peas with like the occasional cowbell or steel drum buried very deep in the mix. Okay, before we leave Holla, I want to play one more song. And like, I'm sorry, but this song is so bad that we can't ignore it. It's called Put 'Em Up.
Take a bomb, drop face down, amaze ya. Throw a beat down like a PlayStation. Ear to the ground of the rhythm nation. Cause I'm gonna make ya. Drop a big bass in my people mover. Suck it right down like a smarter grouper. Hip shape crazy like a hula hooper. Cause I'm gonna make ya. He's got an eye on my people mover. He's got a ride from night to noon. The freaks go crazy when the day goes.
Okay, so I have a bit of a theory of what they're trying to do here. So this is 2004, right? This is 4 years after Who Let the Dogs Out came out. So they know that they just planted these seeds with a generation of like 9 and 10-year-olds. But now those 9 and 10-year-olds are like 13 and 14. You know, they're teenagers. They're just starting to get a little bit harder. They're not all the way hard. They're not DMX hard yet, but they're a little bit
not
harder.
ready for DMX.
So they're just trying to stay with their newfound audience a little bit. They're trying to shepherd these kids into something gradually less cheesy.
Was this when like dance movies were big? Like Bring It On? Did that come out right around
God.
now?
You know, I didn't think about that, but
Were they trying to work their way into like some corny?
Please get into the Bring It On soundtrack. I imagine their manager like crashing the filming of You Got Served and being like, it's just like, you guys, I know the perfect guys for this soundtrack. You remember the Baha Men? Like, no, they did Who Let the Dogs Out. Yeah, I know it was dumb, but like, no, listen, these guys are still they're still around. They're still making music. So following Holla, which again, surprise, surprise, did not top the charts. So after that album, the Baha Men took a bit of a hiatus, and they returned about 10 years later in 2015 with their comeback album, Ride With Me.
The comeback no one wanted.
This was yet another attempt to update the band's sound for modern audiences. Let's take a listen.
Gonna live life like there's no tomorrow and party. Just gonna let it flow every night and every day.
All right, so Nick prints me a script and I kind of write notes in, and for this one, all I wrote next to all I have is, I hate this. I think this one gives me the most visceral reaction of all their songs.
It's just, oh.
I'm going to put on my old man hat for a second. And all you fucking millennials and Gen Zs, stop buying music like this. For the love of God. All these songs, they start with this chorus of voices going, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, like you're all one, and then you get this build up with some generic drop, and then it's some bouncy chorus where they just chant something, like in this case, day,
dude, play this on a piano. It's just like two notes.
Dun, dun, dun. No, this is like a trend. This is all pop music right now, and it pisses me off because it's tailor made to be in like cell phone commercials. And if you can listen to the music and picture some tech company selling something to you, like, are you sick of being tethered by cables?
Yeah.
Or do you believe that we're stronger together than separate? And you can, hear all this shit over it as it builds up. Don't buy that on record. God.
If some 20-year-old from LA, wrote this song and recorded this song, I would get it. That's just what music sounds like nowadays. But for the Baha Men to just so shamelessly just try to ape that sound.
Yeah, that's the saddest part.
Yeah.
These guys are in their 40s.
Like remember what Junkanoo sounded like. This is a long way from Back to the Island.
Yeah, we're a long fucking way.
They are off. They're never going back to the island. They're on like the fucking North Pole by now. And here's the other thing about this song is that these guys, they're a multi-generational band. So like the youngest ones are like in their mid-30s, if I'm being generous. The oldest ones are like, if they were Americans, they'd be collecting Social Security. Like, so we're going to party like there's no tomorrow every night and every day. Think about the 40-year-olds that like adhere to that philosophy of life. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's not a good look.
No. I'm going to party like it's no tomorrow. I'm on my 4th DUI. I know Isaiah, his partying is probably like ibuprofen for his back pain at this point.
I know, right? So that's the story of Baha Men. They spent decades working their asses off, put out a ton of music, and for one brief shining moment made their country proud. Yet for the average American, their career is forever linked to Who Let the Dogs Out, and the association is not a positive one. In 2008, Spinner magazine ranked the song number 2 on its list of worst songs ever.
Oh, come on.
And Rolling Stone ranked it the 3rd most annoying song of all time. I agree with you, Cal. It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. I can think of 3 songs more annoying than Who Let the Dogs Out off the top of my head.
There were no Jimmy Buffett songs on either of those lists, I checked.
That's offensive.
But why do so many people hate Who Let the Dogs Out? Ultimately, I think it's the same thing that made the song so successful in the first place. It's the hook. It's just so simple and catchy. You hear it once and you can't get it out of your head. And it's so simple to sing, you don't even need to carry a note. Like the whitest soccer mom in Iowa can sing Who Let the Dogs Out, and it'll sound exactly the same as the Baha Men singing Who Let the Dogs Out.
Come on, Timmy! Who let the dogs out?
Woof, woof, woof.
You!
So yeah, the song is energetic. It gets people up and moving, but that's really all the song does. It's just like the musical equivalent of cocaine. It provides this short little rush, and then after it's over, you just kind of feel all empty inside. The Baha Men are legit professional musicians, and I think if they really wanted to, they could have produced some serious albums that, maybe explored their Caribbean influences in, more innovative ways. But that's just not what came to be. Like, the only time they really tried to do that was on Junkanoo, and it just didn't work out for them. So they had no incentive to try to be musically innovative.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting if their first stuff had sold well enough they could have kept going in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was part of Steve Greenberg's thinking, now that I really reflect on it. Because remember how in 1999, the Latin craze kind of took over? Like, all these Latin songs were doing really well. Maybe Steve just kind of thought, like maybe Caribbean music just could randomly take off. Who knows?
That makes a lot of sense. We had talked about at the start, Junkanoo, it's good. I would give it like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
And it's fun to imagine if they had pushed in that direction and made a genuinely prolific Caribbean Junkanoo style album. But I guess that's just something we'll never see.
No, like they have the chops. They could do it, but they kind of became boxed in by their one hit. When you're a band like this, you're facing pressure from all these record company executives and Nickelodeon executives who want the next thing. So once you start on something like Who Let the Dogs Out, you just kind of dig a rut for yourselves, and it's kind of hard to get out. And you could try reinventing yourself with like Holla or Night and Day, but it just kind of feels like you're lost.
Yeah, it's like anything George Lucas has done since the first 3 Star Wars.
Yeah. The Baha Men spent over a decade chasing commercial success, and when they finally found it, they milked the shit out of it and wouldn't let go. And you know what? I can't blame them for that. You gotta remember that these guys come from a relatively poor country where you gotta bust your ass to even survive, let alone succeed. I couldn't figure out how old Isaiah Taylor is, but he must have been at least 40 by the time Who Let the Dogs Out broke. When you're that old and you've been hustling for that long, highfalutin notions like coolness or artistic integrity just seem like hollow, pretentious tropes. And if some guy in a suit wants to write you a big-ass check for a song on the Garfield soundtrack, of course you're going to take it. I honestly can't say that I would have said no to something like the Garfield soundtrack, or even something like Who Woke Snow White Up. I'd love to think that I have more integrity than that, but I've never been offered $1 million to do something.
Right.
Like,
I have a pool, but I don't have a jacuzzi.
yeah. Plus, like, you got wives and kids and grandkids and shit. And they're a fucking 9-piece band,
Right.
That's a lot of money to split all those ways.
The Baja Empire.
But before we leave, let me assert one final claim. The Baha Men's version of Who Let the Dogs Out is not the worst song of all time. Indeed, it's not even the worst version of Who Let the Dogs Out. That title, in my opinion, belongs to this track.
Let the dogs out. Let the dogs out. Let the dogs out. Let the dogs out. But the party was nice, the party was bumping. Yippee-yi-yo, and everybody hopping a ball. Yippee-yi-yo, until the fellas stopped the name calling. Yippee-yi-yo, and that girls responded then call. I hear a woman shout out, who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Let the dogs out. See the dance people, I got more caution, really bump this ghetto. Get back coffee, bust coffee, get back you feeling fisted mongrel. Gonna tell myself, hey man, don't get angry.
That song actually made me angry. I gotta calm down for a second.
Cal is like a huge metalhead, and like I love metal too. Like, for the record, that was the metalcore band Our Last Night, and they recorded that actually with Baha Men in the studio in 2018. And
Yep. You gave
why?
me
Why did that need to happen?
you gave me a chance to count to 10. I can talk rationally about this. That's just insulting.
That was clickbait in musical form. Oh, look, these guys did a metal cover of Who
Yep.
Let the Dogs Out.
Yep, 100%. And it's not like the Baha Men understand metal. It's not like they give a crap.
No, it's just like, well, yeah, I mean, it's a way for them to, become relevant again. So
Right.
I see why they did it. I'm not mad at Baha Men. I'm mad at Our Last Night.
Yeah.
Because fuck you, do your own fucking songs.
Don't get the Baha Men just for memes.
All right, so what did we learn today, Cal?
Once you sell out and you start making that money, it's hard to ever come back from it. That's your identity at that point. Once you have a Who Let the Dogs Out, the rest of your life is trying to have another Who Let the Dogs Out.
Yeah.
And time and musical trends are going to keep moving, with or without you.
It's almost as if, like, once you go pop, you just can't go back from that. And it's not even about whether you want to or not. It's about the people around you and the incentive structure around all of it, and just, maintaining what you've built.
Like right now, I'll make a not so bold prediction, but I think our show is going to feature a lot of this pattern.
Yeah, we're going to be dealing with a lot of one-hit wonders, a lot of people who produced cringy tracks that happened to make it big, but they all had a reason to do what they did. In the Baha Men's case, it's because their producer and manager, who they really trusted, convinced them to do it. They got success. They got the money and the limelight and just the worldwide adoration, but did it come at a price?
Just their soul.
Well, that was episode 1 of Polishing Turds with Nick and Cal. Thank you so much for listening. If you like us, please visit our Facebook page, Polishing Turds. We're on Instagram at polishing.turds. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, or if you know some shit about the Caribbean that we don't and you want to explain what dumb white assholes we are, send an email to polishingturdspodcast@gmail.com. And the reason why it's Polishing Turds Podcast is because some asshole already has polishingturds@gmail.com. Can you believe that, Cal?
He actually polishes turds.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. It was a bone of contention. No, sorry, that's too bad.